Ladies and gentlemen, hey, hi, how you doing? Welcome back to the channel. Thank you so much for stopping by. Obviously, this year within Warzone, we sort of have our revamped Resurgence with Vondel, Ashika, and occasionally Urzikstan POI rotation right now with the additions of all the MW3 updates, right? With the new movement, the new base perks that are on by default and everything like that. And so with that today, I wanted to break down the top 5 best loadouts you want to be using specifically geared around Resurgence gameplay, and the types of engagements you experience there may be a little bit more than standard just general battle royale gameplay. So as we get into the loadouts, if you enjoy the video or if you simply find it helpful, do me a favor and drop a like. It does really help the channel grow. And if you're new here, you want to guarantee that every single day you are up to date with all things going on in Call of Duty, whether it's MW3 or Warzone. Be sure to hit that subscribe button and turn on those post notifications. So initially, real quick, on all my Resurgence loadouts, I am running the exact same set for perks and equipment here. Initially, smokes are just so clutch because you can form your own cover with these, you can push with these, you can res with these. They're so good in so many different situations, so these are pretty clutch. That said, you know, things like snapshots can be really good as well. Stims give you that extra speed boost, so you got some options here, but for me, smokes absolutely are a standout. And of course, for Resurgence, you want those insta finishes so you can quickly get those pings on the radar, know exactly where an enemy team is coming from. So knives for those are going to be perfect. Obviously, perks going to be the same that I run over in just standard Warzone right now. Double time sleight of hand, obviously the more tac sprint, the faster tac sprint refresh is clutch for always running around. Sleight of hand for the quicker reload. Tempered, while you can find this as a vest, I like because I like to stack a tempered perk with like a medic vest, for instance. That's like such a clutch duo there. And then lastly, bird's eye, obviously, so I can get those better pings. I can get the actual display of where they're going to be looking, and obviously this counters ghost as well. And like I said, that's the same on every single loadout. So now just focusing on the guns moving forward. First up here, we got a deadly duo of fast TTK guns, the Bruen and the Swarm. So Bruen for like the mid-range, some of the early long range, which is going to be the majority of your fights here on Resurgence. Fantastic. The thing melts. And then up close, you got the Swarm. Its first damage range of like 6 meters is the fastest TTK in the game. And then beyond that, it's just one of the best SMGs. So this pairs very nicely together. Keep in mind, you can pretty much mix and match all the stuff here today between the primaries and the secondaries. But initially, for the Bruen here, I like the MK3 reflector, especially for Resurgence gameplay. So much of it is more aggressive and fast paced that this is the perfect optic for a lot of the engagements you're going to get into. But as always, if there's a different optic you prefer more, always go for comfortability there. 60 round extended mags boosting your ADS speed, sprint to fire movement, your reload, obviously great for faster paced Resurgence gameplay. I like the choke angled grip here. It helps out with horizontal control and then general movement speed, again making this more aggressive like an AR LMG hybrid. That said, Bruen heavy support is also a really good one if you're just focused simply on control there. I also got the Spirit Fire suppressor. It's helping out with range, velocity, and control. That 3-in-1 combo makes it more effective for the long range. Then the Horizon barrel helps out with control and a little bit of velocity there as well. So for your main primary there, this is a great choice, one of the best in the game in general. And then you pair it with the Swarm and your close range is covered. This thing fries. Now initially, I got the Fortress heavy stock on here. This helps out a ton with control and surprisingly doesn't hurt your mobility all that bad. 2% to ADS speed, 1.5% to your sprint speed for 20% control. That's clutch for sure. I got the 50 round mag on here. I feel like this is totally sufficient. 100 is going to slow you down a little bit too much over 50. So to me, it's not worth going all the way up there, but it is pretty funny to run around with. So you could mess around for sure, but 50 will be totally sufficient from a competitive standpoint. I like the hand stop underbarrel on here. Simply helps out with ADS speed and general movement speed. There are no control benefits because instead I'm getting those out of my barrel here, better control range and velocity, which obviously also helps with that first initial damage range. And then I go for the Lacerda compensator, which is just mainly focusing on horizontal control. This makes it so that since I'm not using an optic, my iron sights are not bouncing around nearly as much. The recoil pattern's a lot more predictable. So takes a little bit of getting used to here for sure, but man, this thing absolutely melts up close. This next combination is the Pulemyot 762 conversion, and then also the Rival 9, another fantastic secondary. So for the Pulemyot, you've got your mid to long range covered as well. And this, much like the Bruen, is more of an AR LMG hybrid. You just have 100 rounds, so you can spray and pray, but also move pretty well because the bullpup conversion. And then the Rival for close range has ridiculous mobility, really easy to use, and a very competitive TTK as well. So initially for the Pulemyot, I do have the Jack Annihilator bullpup kit as mentioned, which really turns this into a rifle feeling LMG. Its mobility is phenomenal. Its handling is great. perfect for Resurgence gameplay with the TTK that it's offering. I also got the TL20 rear grip. This is just straight up for better control. Hurts your idle sway a little bit, but it's not a huge deal because this is a super easy gun to use. In this case, I got the 2.5 times eagle eye optic. You could switch to a reflector, a slate, whatever the case may be. As always here, preference over everything. I got the Spirit Fire suppressor here yet again, same deal as over on the Bruen. Then I go for the Jack Annihilator long barrel, better range, better velocity. No added control benefits here, but this gun is so easy when it comes down to it that it's not totally needed. That said, if you really wanted to focus more on control with like a Bruen heavy support, you could always drop the rear grip for that and maybe get a few extra bonuses there, or up your mobility through that as well if you wanted. You certainly got some options, but regardless of how you build it, the conversion kit Pulemyot is pretty crazy. Then for the rival, we're just really focused on mobility and making this thing nice and aggressive. So I do go for the Shadow Strike suppressor here. This is just a suppressor. It's not giving me range, velocity. It's not hurting my ADS speed. It's just keeping me off the map, which is nice to see. We got the BW4 hand stop, all mobility based. That said, if you wanted some control, choke could be a decent option there. You could even go all in on control if you're okay with a slower ADS speed. Just depends on how comfortable you are with the gun. For me, the 40 round extended mag works fine as opposed to 50. 50 is going to slow you down a little bit too much for my liking, so 40 is totally sufficient there. I got the Vice Assault rear grip for better control, just makes this snappy and aggressive, but also usable at the same time. Then lastly, the tactical stock helps out with just general movement speed there, a little bit of hip fire as well. So perfect secondary to help with those close range fights, those building based gunfights. Then you got the Pulemyot to fry for the mid and long range. Then for Resurgence, I did want to focus in on one sniping setup, and obviously you're going to want to go for the sniper that can one-shot knock with any ammo type, and that of course is the KATT, our true only one-shot sniper. So while this is a bit of a heavier sniper in comparison, the other ones you're going to be getting hit markers, this is going to be knocking, and that's a very distinct difference, obviously. And I paired this with the Ram, which this setup could be used if you're not within a comfortable sniping distance in the mid-range as well, the long range a little bit, but also just as sniper support. This works so good, and its TTK is insane in its first like 30 meters or so. So this build, the Ram does have a bit of awkward recoil, so I'm focused on just making that easy. I go for the 2.5 times optic here. Again, though, you could always drop down to a reflector if you're okay with that, less zoom for the mid-range. 60 round drum is going to be pretty sufficient if you're playing trios and quads. You could try 40 for like solos and duos though, if that's more your play style there. I got the Bruen heavy support here, helping out a lot with that horizontal control, and there is a lot of that on this gun, so that's pretty clutch there. And I also use the Stir Sky Fury compensator for more of the same. Helps out a lot with horizontal and vertical control. I would love to stay off the radar, and if you wanted to, you could definitely try out, using a Spirit Fire or something here for some added control. However, for me, just the big boost in recoil control makes this gun a lot more usable, and I land way more shots because of that. And then lastly, I go for the Code Mark heavy barrel, again helping out with control, but also range and velocity, making this even more lethal as a sniper support option. So while this really does feel like it's a mid to long range style build, the Ram is just aggressive enough with this movement that this is a great sniper support choice. Then the KATT here, we're really just focused on better velocity and decent movement speed. So initially, the Nightfall suppressor here gives you a ton of velocity. That said, the Sonic suppressor is going to give you decent velocity and no ADS speed. So if you want a slightly snappier build, you could switch out between those. I've got the Zang barrel on here, better velocity as well. The range doesn't matter here because we're only focused on the one shots. Spire point rounds, better velocity as well. We're looking at almost 1300, which is super clutch. This means at any point on the map when you're sniping, it's going to feel sort of hit scan like. I go for the default optic here, and instead I end up opting for the rubberized stock pad, which doesn't help out your ADS speed, unfortunately, but it does help with your general movement speed, and that to me is kind of clutch. But if you wanted a better ADS speed, you could always use the tactical stock pad as well. Then just behind the face cam, I've got the quick bolt. That way I can go through and get my shots off back to back a little bit faster. I'll go ahead, hide the face cam there if you're looking for a general screenshot with all 5 attachments. And by the way, if you're using the screenshots, a like would be really appreciated. But yeah, when it comes to sniping, this is the true king, and that stands true on Resurgence and standard battle royale, honestly. Hey everyone, it's holiday season, and if you're looking for the perfect stocking stuffer or gift this year, look no further than G Fuel. Whether you're trying to treat yourself this holiday season or pick up something for some friends or some family, G Fuel's got you covered with a little bit of something for everyone. Whether you're trying to restock on your favorite flavors, maybe try something new, they got the tubs, the starter kits, even just some straight up shaker cups if you're looking to grab a new one of those. If you want to pick up anything at all from the G Fuel site, website, be sure to go ahead and throw in code IMMORTAL at checkout for that nice little discount. Link for that will be down in the description below if you're interested. Following that, we've got just a solid AR SMG hybrid that's got fast TTKs and all the necessary engagements you're going to be getting into in Resurgence gameplay. The Holger 5.56 and the Striker 9, surprisingly kind of a slept on SMG. It's super easy to use and it's really competitive, like close range, good TTK. Even in the mid range though, if you're running with this out, you could find yourself in those situations and it'll hold its own, which is pretty surprising. So initially it is so easy to use that I just use the Shadow Strike suppressor. I don't have to worry about control, so I don't really need to opt for something that's going to hurt my ADS speed or anything like that. So I'm just staying off the radar nice and smooth there. Choke angled underbarrel, it does help out with some horizontal control and just makes this more of like a laser beam style build there. I've also got the Striker long barrel. This helps out with velocity and range and makes it even more lethal in those close and mid-range damage options there, like that first and second damage range. Basically, it extends those pretty nicely. I've also got the 40 round mag here. Again, if you want to up to 50, it'll just be a tad bit slower, so it just depends on if you're okay with that slowdown there, but either or will suffice there. And then unfortunately, I hate the optics on this thing. They're just a little bit too awkward and bulky for my liking, so I would love to run a stock for better mobility or a laser for better ADS and sprint to fire, but instead I find myself being way more accurate using a slate reflector or the MK3 reflectors. So if you're okay with the irons, you got some options there, but if you do not like those and you'd rather be more accurate with an optic, I'd recommend one of those better close range ones. And then for the Holger here, pretty standard rifle setup for the mid to long range. I got the Eagle Eye 2.5 times or whatever optic you prefer more. Unfortunately, the 40 round mag is the max here and we have a decent fire rate, so the damage per mag on the Holger is a bit lacking. Luckily, its TTK is really competitive, especially over range, so this will be fine for that primary. You just might find yourself reloading a little bit more there. I've got the SP10 angled underbarrel. This helps out with horizontal control. It actually adds a little bit of vertical, but this is like the easiest gun in the game, or one of the easiest guns in the game for control purposes, so that 2.5% increase is not really a huge deal. I also got the Spirit Fire suppressor here, better velocity, control, and range. Then I go for the Cryos 6 match barrel, better velocity, control, and range yet again. So we're making it even easier to use. This thing is a laser beam, it fries, then close range you got the Striker to back you up, you're gonna be set. And then lastly, I wanted to throw in a bit of an experimental loadout that is just absurd for TTK. We've got the 7.62 MTZ battle rifle mixed with the Lockwood 680 MW3 shotgun. So obviously this is your close range dominance here with the Lockwood, and it is actually very good up close. And then we've got the 7.62 for mid to long range. I am focused on full auto here. The semi-auto TTK in theory is busted good. However, it's not sustainable with a fast fire rate. You're just never actually going to reach that peak TTK. So I just stick it in full auto and I leave it be because it's still going to fry there as well. And there is a decent amount of control here, so I do focus on that a good bit. Initially 2.5 times optic, low visual recoil. The 30 round max magazine here is the biggest drawback because it is, like I said, a little bit difficult to use, so you got to get past that initial skill gap, and then you just don't have much ammo to work with. But if you land your shots, you will fry. Now, I am running the Ripper because if you're like me, some fights do feel ideal for semi-auto. So while that ultimate TTK is not sustainable always, if you're feeling like you're just frying with it, you could flip back and forth between semi-auto and full auto, and in semi-auto, Ripper is going to help you with the recentering and the idle sway, and in full auto, it does offer some recoil control as well. That said, if you are just dead set on using full auto only, I'd recommend something like the Bruen heavy support, maybe the SP10 angled, something like that that focuses more on horizontal control, but you certainly have some options there. I also got the Spirit Fire suppressor, yet again, no surprises there. Then the Precision Blackthorn barrel, this helps out with range and bullet velocity, so gonna be easier to use there. That said, the Clinch Pro is also a really good choice. It's gonna do a little bit less for range and velocity, but it's gonna add in some control, so you could use either or there, and there's no real wrong answer. It just depends on how you want the weapon to feel and how comfortable you are with it. But really solid setup here that is surprisingly good and kind of slept on. And then for the 680, I like ADSing with my shotgun builds, especially the 680. That's where you're gonna get the most potential for like a 1 to 2 shot knock depending on their health. So initially I got the Bryson choke. This is gonna help out with the spread some, but also does do some hip fire benefits there as well if you find yourself in that situation. So you get some versatility there. The DR6 hand stop, better movement speed, ADS speed, so it's just better for, you know, a more aggressive play style. The Hammerforge long barrel extends that that range some, so that's better for obviously those potential 1 to 2 shot knocks. 7 milliwatt lasers, snappier ADS and sprint to fire. Then the sawed off mod is better ADS, better movement speed, sprint to fire speed. Obviously that one's sort of a no-brainer there. So basically just focusing on mobility and range where we can here, and you get a very strong shotgun that's kind of taken over the shotgun category in specific. And that being said, those are the top 5 best Resurgence loadouts you want to be running right now in Warzone. That's going to wrap things up. If you enjoyed the video or if you found it helpful with the loadouts, do me a favor, drop a like on it. It would be really appreciated as always. And if you're new here, you want to guarantee you're up to date with news, updates, patch notes, meta breakdowns, I got you covered on a daily basis. So feel free to hit that sub button and turn on those post notifications. But once again, thank you so much for tuning in. And until next time, take it easy, have an awesome rest of your day, and I'll catch you later. Peace out.